Good evening, students. Here, the new chapter Organism and Population is started. So, according to the plan and according to the chapter wise explanation, this chapter is also very important. So, first thing, let's start this chapter. What is the introduction? The ecology actually the branch of a science which is the study of the relationship between any organism और इट्स environment. मेरे environment से जो connection और relationship है उसकी study या उसकी branch of science को हम लोग ecology कहते हैं. Ecology is actually has a four type of a level. The four levels are organism level, population level, community level, biome level. And the place where this organism live is called as habitat. Now, how these organisms are related to the environment? Organism actually the first level is every individual, every type of the thing consists of one species and that is called as an organism, which is a basic unit. To study about the ecology, we have to find out the basic unit of any type of a population. If we go for organism is actually naturally interbreed among themselves. They fertile, lives there and form a population. So at the organism level, ecology is termed as psychological ecology, which actually deals with the adaptation which is observed in different organisms. So what is adaptation? The question will arise is adaptation essential for every organism to survive, reproduce within the environment or habitat. If we go for the population is actually a type of a community which is formed by a single type of an individual. If the individual of any population in the competitive stage, this competition is called as intra-specific competition. If we go for the community level, the any biological community is the collection of a different type of the population which lives in a particular area and interact with each other. In a biotic community of any area, there is a specific composition of a structure of communities. Now, the last one is actually biomes, a large unit. This is the largest unit, which actually has a major vegetation type, like the constitute the collection of a fauna and flora. There are many biomes are there in India: tropical rainforest, deciduous forest, seacoast, desert. So, major biomes are desert, grassland, Arctic alpine tundra, coniferous forest, temperate forest, and tropical forest. In India, it becomes a rainforest, deciduous, desert, and seacoast. Let's go for the flowchart. Proton and neutron and electron form a atom form a molecule form compound form a complex compound form a living part, cell become tissue become organ become organ system, then organism, then population, then biotic community, then abiotic component, then ecosystem, and then biome, and then the collection of the biome form biosphere. So the first thing is environment. Environment is actually different. All the types of the biotic and abiotic type of the things are present in a single type of a place that is called as its environment, which fulfill all the basic needs of all: food, cloth, and shelter. So it is very important to find out these environment. The major biomes in the world is Arctic, alpine, coniferous, tundra, grassland, tropical forest, and desert. So here you see the different types of the annual precipitation centimeter is present. As you see, the tropical forest is at the temperature of lagbhag 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Desert is more over at. The Arctic and alpine tundra is in the minus. Coniferous forest is something between 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. So different type of the temperature form different type of biomes. And the key factor of these biomes is the biotic factor, which may be included the pathogen, parasite, predator, and competitor. Actually, this abiotic factor of this environment is depend on abiotic mean non-living. The part which is non-living factor is temperature, water, light, and the soil. Let's go for the abiotic factor. How the temperature influence the factor. Average temperature of the earth differ with season by season. At equator, temperature is high, and if we move towards the pole, it decreases in the same way. And from plains to mountain tops, the temperature decreases. Temperature range is actually in high altitude, it is less than 50 degrees Celsius in tropical desert in summer. Temperature play also an important role in geographical distribution. Like as example, Eurythermal is the organism which tolerate wide range of temperature and can able to perform its psychological function in that type of temperature. जैसे कि हम लोग mammals like human beings, leopards, dogs, monkey, cow, they actually work in this eurythermal. We are the eurythermal because we can do our work, do all the type of the physiological things in a wide range of temperature. Now those stanothermal, eurythermal plants are rose, soap plant, mango, daisy. Stanothermal are those organisms which tolerate only a small, narrow range of a temperature. Soil and marine organism fall on this category. So some types of the stanothermal organism जो कि बहुत ही less amount of temperature adapt कर पाते हैं. Like as a thermophilic organism, in a high range they can live only in the high range of temperature, like reptiles, lizard, snakes. Cryptophilic animal lives in the low range areas like 0 degrees centigrade, like as example seal, crustacean, salmon. And plants are also there, vines, eucalyptus, orchids like. Now what are ecotherms? Ecotherms are the animals whose body temperature changes and match with the environment where they are living. Endotherms are the animal whose body temperature is maintained relatively constant or psychological regulation. Now the second one is the water. The water actually important play an important factor role in life because we need water for survival. So how the type of organism are according to the water. If the organism adapt a wide range of saline water. Saline means a high amount of the water consists of a salt able to perform due to psychological function. Then the same range of salinity that is called as a euryhaline. And many fishes are there in that. Crustacean rocks and rock pools are also there. And oyster, blue crabs, they are euryhaline. Now sterohaline means the organism tolerate a narrow range of salinity. That is a type of a psychological function. Example, stenothaline plants. Now light also play an important role. Very important role for the plants to prepare the food. Small herbivores, animals and plants and some shrubs, canopy trees, they have a different type of a light adaptation. The light adaptivity is called as a photoperiodism, and this photoperiodism is also called as duration of a light. Ultraviolet component of the light is very harmful for many organisms. Red, brown, and green algae found different type of the zones in ocean and depend on the light in different type of the depth. And these red algae can live in a very deep water. So light also play important roles. Now go for the soil. Nature of the property of a soil is given place are dependent on a climate, weather, soil, soil development. So property of the soil is very important. The particle size is also different, so that's why the adaptation is also different. Many vegetation is according to the soil, and the floor of the ocean consists of different type of the soil. The floor of the river consists of different type of the soil. So different places have a different type of the soil. How we respond to abiotic these factor are depend we depend on these type of the factors. So how we can respond. So in many organism, relatively, they have a constant internal environment which is helpful for the biological reaction. So we call them as a regulator. There are three type of the organism. One is regulator, second one is partial regulator, third one is conformers. Regulator are those organisms which maintain their homeostasis and psychological or behavioral ways. For example, mammals and birds. Actually, homeostasis is a psychological process or behavioral process, and the temperature of the body, osmotic concentration, everything we can maintain. These are called as regulate. We can regulate our body according to the environment. So, evolutionary biologists believe that mammals have succeeded other animals due to the course of time that they have ability to constant temperature, maintain the or regulate the body according to the environment. They're able to survive in Antarctica as well in the Sahara Desert also. But what are partial regulator? These animals try to regulate their internal temperature by means of psychological mechanism and behavioral attitude, but beyond that limit they have to conform to the external condition for the survival. Means somehow they can compete. Somehow वो कभी लड़ते हैं environment से. Now the third one is conformer. According to this habitat area, conformer change their body temperature, osmolarity, and body fluid. These organisms do not have any internal mechanism to regulate, so no energy is spent. So that's our conformers. Most of the animals or nearly all plants are unable to maintain the temperature, internal body temperature. Their body temperature changes with the fluctuation of the temperature. In aquatic animal, the osmotic concentration of the body fluid changes and those immediately surrounding water and osmotic concentration. These animals are also called as osmoconformers. So thermoregulation is actually a constant body temperature which actually create a energy expensive process. Sometimes the heat loss is there, sometimes the gain is there, and sometimes the surface area of the body is also there. So basically the three organism is regulator, conformer, and partial regulator. Now you already understood about these things. Like it's a smaller animals like shrews has a larger surface area of the body. So as compared to the body, the volume and the loss of the heat is also quite fast, and the outside environment is cold. So how can they manage? How can they manage? They need to spend more of the metabolical energy to generate a required amount of the heat, and this is the one main reason that the small fishes are not found in the polar region, because small fishes have not have this type of a adaptability as compared to the another big organism. So freshwater fishes and marine water fishes have a different type of a strategy to live in and adapt in their environment so they can survive. Now there are some parts called as a migration. Organisms which can leave their habitat and migrate to another areas. Why another areas? Because that area is suitable for their livelihood. So generally the big birds take a long distance migration during winter and they have a strong flight muscles. For example, in India, migratory birds like as a Siberian crane and other in cold northern regions such as a Koel Dev Ghana like Bharatpur in National Park also there, migration will occur. Now what is suspension? Suspension is actually a organism which cannot migrate or not going to the another areas when the condition is unfavorable, so they suspend their metabolic function, and because of that the temporarily stressful periods are theirs, and when their body function is going to the in coming in the favorable, when the favorable condition is coming, their body again resume their function. For example, hibernation is seen in amphibians, certain reptiles and polar bears, and estivation are also there. So sometimes it is called as a summer sleep, sometimes it is called as a winter sleep. But zooplanktons, the microscopic animals, to the stage of diapause. In that stage, the development becomes suspended because of unfavorable condition. Now, what is hibernation? Hibernation is during winter or very cold conditions. Some animals cannot migrate, so they undergo a long winter sleep. And estivation during extreme summer days. When they cannot maintain their steady body temperature, it may rise to fall to the fatal, so they remain inactive and hide themselves. Now, understand about these things. Now, the next one is adaptation. Many adaptation evolved over a long period of a time and they are genetically controlled. Example: kangaroos found in the North American desert have a unique quality to meet all its water requirements, and that is through internal oxidation of fat, where water is a byproduct. It can also concentrate its urine to minimal volume, thus reduce water in the urine. So it create a type of a adaptation by removing a very less amount of a urine. Mammal who are living in the extreme colder climate has comparatively shorter ears and limbs so that their heat loss will come less. This type of the rule is called as a Allen's rule. So sometime it can question will come, what is Allen's rule? Aquatic mammals like scales in the polar seas have a thick layer of fat called as blubber below the skin. This fat act as a insulator, एक चादर की तरह, so that it prevent the loss of a body heat. So like this, many animals do the different type of adaptation techniques. Like some animals are capable to burrow into the soil and hide themselves to escape from the ground heat. For example, desert plant. They have a thick cuticle on the leaf surface, sunken stomata, because they try to adapt themselves in that type of the situation. So there is special photosynthetic pathway like as a CAM pathway where the stomata remain closed during the day, transpiration under cheek and open in the small. So this type of techniques is evolved due to the survival. In cactus like Opuntia, leaves are modified into spines. Why? So they reduce the loss of transpiration. Here the question will occur, na? Ki why Opuntia has spines like of a leaves? So leaves are generally pinnate compound to reduce the surface area like acecia. In aquatic plant also, air-filled tissues erenchyma is found, which is vital for buoyancy and floating so that they can float on the water. Plant parts have a waxy covering to avoid the damage by the help of water. Like some human beings, when go for the plains in high altitude, Rohtang Pass, they experience a altitude sickness. What are the cause of this sickness? The main cause is low atmospheric pressure and oxygen adaptability. But after few days, the body get acclimatized by the increasing red blood cells production, decreasing the binding capacity of a hemoglobin with oxygen and increasing the breathing rate. है कि नहीं? Every strategy is performed for the survival. The next one is population. Population attribute actually a ecology. It is the link between ecology and population, genetic and evolution. So the main factor is natural selection. The main factor is natural selection. So what is population attribute? Population ecology is the link between ecology and population, genetics and evolution. What is natural selection? A process for the survival of the fittest and operate at the level of each population. A population have a certain types of the characteristic like as a birth rate, death rate, sex ratio, population density. So population density is depend on four things. One is birth rate, another is death rate, but somehow it also depend on immigration and emigration. So what is that? If it is a birth rate, it is called as natality. Here it is written, if it is a birth rate, it is called as a natality. If it is a death rate, it is called as a mortality. If somebody come from others outside to our population, it is called immigration. And somehow, if some of the population of our area is going outside, that is called as emigration. So because of that, the population density will going up down. Now the population has three ecological age group. One is pre-reproductive age group, another is reproductive age group, and third one is post-reproductive age group. So if the age distribution, that is the number of individual in the different age group, is plotted on the pyramid result, there are three types of the pyramid will form. One is expanding, another is stable, and third one is decline. So somehow the question will arises in the competitive way. The pyramid will given to you and they will ask that which one is expanding, which one is stable, and which one is decline. So you actually responsible for your answer. That's how you must be responsible to give the answer of these questions. Understood? So in expanding, the pre-reproductive is more than the reproductive is more than the post-reproductive. In stable, everything is going to be quite simple, and in decline, somehow it become going less. So these three pyramids will show you how the pyramid of these expanding, stable, and decline is formed. The next one is population growth. Here it is very important. The size of actual population never be the same. It keeps changing with the time depending on the factors like as a food availability, weather, predation, competition. Somehow it can also change due to natality, mortality, migration, emigration. So natality and immigration is increasing the size of a density of a population, and mortality and emigration decreasing the population. So according to the equation, if NT is a population density at a time, B is the birth rate, I is the immigration, D is the death rate, E is the emigration. सो एन प्लस वन मीन्स 1 ईयर का मतलब समझना. यहाँ पे एन टी का मतलब नहीं है. यहाँ पे मेन चीज़ है 1 ईयर में कितना इंक्रीज हुआ, हाउ मच इंक्रीमेंट इज ऑन 1 ईयर. सो एन टी द टोटल पॉपुलेशन प्लस बी प्लस आई बर्थ प्लस इमिग्रेशन, जितने भी आई उसमें घटा देंगे, सब्सट्रैक्ट टी प्लस ई डेथ रेट प्लस एमिग्रेशन. That total thing added to the stable present population will become the new population. So if B plus I is more than D plus E, the population density increases because birth rate is increasing, emigration is increasing. Now if B plus I is less, then the population density is decreases. So population growth model is two types. One is exponential, another is logistic. In exponential, here the unlimited resources are available above the limit. At that time, the population grows in the exponential or geometric fashion. So this one is the exponential growth curve, up faster. The dn upon dt is equal to b minus d into n, where b minus d is the rate, and the equation become dn upon dt is equal to rn. So r is the equation that is called as the intrinsic rate of a natural increase. But actually this j-shaped type of a plot will not be possible. The exponential growth equation become nt, that is n naught ert, where nt is the population density after time t, n naught is the population at the beginning, r is the intrinsic rate in which it is increasing, and e is the base of natural logarithm. Now logistic growth. Find out about the logistic growth. It is not possible for the population to grow continuously exponentially because the resources are available in a limited state. So every environment or habitat has the resources to support a particular maximum number of individual called as a carrying capacity. So population which demonstrate the logistic growth show sigmoid curve, and we plot this type of the curve in such a way this curve is called as worst per logistic growth. This is the curve. It is described the first time the population is increasing slowly and then suddenly increased, and then after some time it becomes stable at the carrying capacity. So what this equation say? NT is equal to N naught ERT. Here N is the population density, R is the intrinsic rate of natural growth, and K is the carrying capacity. This growth model is more realistic in nature because no population is sustain exponentially growth. That's why this is the real one. Now life history variation. Evolution in a population is used to improving the reproductive fitness or Darwinism fitness, and that the due course of the time that efficient reproductive strategies are there. A few example. Some organisms breed only once in the lifetime, like as a Pacific salmon fish. But most animal breed many times, like as a man, birds and cattle. A smaller animal produce large number of offspring. Most of them die before the maturation because of a stress like a oyster, insect, pelagic fish. Macroorganism produces less number of offspring, which is comparatively large in size and have more chance to reach adulthood. Example: birds and mammals. This is the life history variation. Now the population interaction. Living organisms cannot live in isolation. They interact with somehow the biological community. So interspecific interaction are those interaction where the individual or population have two species. Such interaction will be beneficial. Somehow it can be neutral. Somehow it will be detrimental. Other type of the things. So first one is mutualism. An interspecific interaction in which both species are benefited, like as a lichen, fungus, and alga, symbiotic relationship. Mycorrhiza, it is fungi and root relationship. So plants depend on insect for pollination. That's why the pollination is rewarded in form of nectar or edible pollen inside of oviposition. Now listen it very carefully because the question will arises from here. The Mediterranean orchid, that is bee orchid. The Mediterranean orchid plant employs sexual pollination its flower. This orchid, the zygomorphic, where one petals of a flower resemble the female bee species, particularly in size, coloring, marking, etc. The male bee pseudocopulates with the floral petals, perceive it as a female bee. During this process, the pollen grains are dusted on the body of a male bee. When the same male bee is attracted by another flower of this species, it's repeated, the process of pollen grains get attached to the stigma. Pollination is achieved. Have you understand about this thing? I think you not understand about this thing. Now understand it very clearly. बी ऑर्चिड एक ऐसा प्लांट होता है जिसमें एक मेल बी उसको फीमेल बी समझकर उसके साथ पॉलिनेट यानी कि उसके साथ फर्टिलाइजेशन करने की कोशिश करता है, बट दैट इज़ नॉट रियल, दैट इज़ अ फेक. और इसकी वजह से उसमें जो पॉलन ग्रेन्स होते हैं वो उसकी बॉडी में स्टिक यानी कि चिपक जाते हैं. जब वो वहाँ से उड़ता है और सेम टाइप के प्लांट के ऊपर अगेन अट्रैक्ट होता है और वहाँ पर फिर यही चीज़ करने की कोशिश करता है, तो वो पॉलन उसकी बॉडी से डस्टेड यानी कि गिर जाते हैं दूसरे में. सिंपल थिंग, पॉलिनेशन डन. So this is the way how they can pollinate. Now predation. Predation is an interspecific relationship where one animal kill the other and eat the other animal. This predation in which tiger killing the deer, snake killing the frog, sparrow eating the insect, fruit or seeds. Predator play an important role in the ecosystem. They form a channel to transfer the energy to the highest trophic level. They keep the population of herbivore under control. नहीं तो otherwise they can disturb the balance of ecosystem. Species diversity in a community is maintained by reducing the intensity of the competition among the competitive prey species. So here also the question will occur, what is the important role of a predators? Organism of prey species also evolved. अभी ये नहीं कि केवल ये हमेशा किलर के पास ही सारे एडवांटेज देगा. समहाउ इट आल्सो हैव अ एडवांटेज टू अदर एनिमल्स आल्सो जो खुद शिकार बन रहे हैं. सो somehow some organisms also consist of a defense system to save themselves, like as a camouflage. To avoid the insect species like frog avoid the detection of the predator. अब इस घास में इस frog को ढूंढना किसी के लिए नामुमकिन ही है. So that's why it is also a camouflage. Camouflage means छलावा. Now this one chameleon, green chameleon camouflage by the help of this taking colors. Some animals are highly disastrous to their predator, so safe from predator. Like this monarch butterfly species accumulate a chemical by feeding on a poisonous wheat calotropis during its caterpillar stage. तो कैटरपिलर स्टेज के दौरान ये अपने कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी खा लेती हैं जो इसको आगे बचाते हैं. Some prey are poisonous and hence avoided by predators, that is dart frog like bicolor frog, जहरीला जो मेढक होता है. We defined herbivore and predator of a plant. So phytophthorous organisms, approximately 25% of the known insect are phytogous and feed on the sap and other part of the plant. Plant cannot hide from grazing animals, so some of the plants develop some morphological and chemical defense system. Like they consist of a thorns and spines. Plant produces a chemical type of the things that make the animal to feel sick. They may inhibit them from the feeding, interact with digestion. They can directly kill them. Nicotine type of opium and quata are the chemical that plant have the defense system. Never seen the starfish. The starfish is generally found in the rocky internal areas. It is an example of a predation and it feeds on various species of invertebrates. In a particular environment, this predator was removed from a small experimental area and it was observed that within a few hundred days, approximately 10 species of invertebrate got extinct. So, somehow, many species depend on this starfish. Now, next one is parasitism. Now, this parasitism is actually is an interspecific interaction where one of the species depend on the other species for the food and shelter. In this process, the host is damaged. It is in the association. In this association, the parasite is benefited while the host become harmed or killed. It's very important thing. The parasite or host specific and the parasite and the host tension co-evolves. So it is due to the loss of unnecessary sense organ. It is due to the presence of hooks. It is due to the loss of digestive system. It is due to the high reproductive capacity. The life cycle of any parasite is very complex. Like human liver fluke complete its life cycle in a snail and a fish. Plasmodium used female Anopheles mosquito as a vector. So, hosts may be harmed by parasites, like survival of the host is threatened, growth of the reproductive rate get adversely reduced, render the host of the vulnerable to predator by making them physically weak. But there are two types of the parasites. One is ectoparasite and another is endoparasite. Ectoparasite like is a head lice on जुएं जो होते हैं बालों में, कुत्तों की लीस जो टिक्स होती हैं उनमें, कस्क्यूटा लाइक दिस टाइप ऑफ द थिंग्स आर एक्टोपैरासाइट. बट एंडोपैरासाइट जैसे कि पेट का कीड़ा स्कैरिस, इंटेस्टाइन, लीवर, ब्लड में इन सब, टेप वॉर्म, लीवर फ्लूक, प्लाज्मोडियम, ये सब एंडोपैरासाइट. And it is interesting to know that during the evolution of the egg of a parasitic birds have developed resemblance and those of the host bird in size, colors, avoid to host bird detecting the foreign eggs and rejecting them from the nest. Somehow, due to this some change are also occurs. Like cuckoo birds जो होती है वो अपने अंडे कौवे के नेस्ट पे दे देती है. क्यों? ताकि वो उसको वो अंडों की केयर ना करनी पड़े. Like common, next one is commensalism. Is defined as an interspecific interaction जहाँ पर one species is benefited and other species neither benefited nor harmed. Like orchid grown on hepatitis of different tree. Barnacles grown on the whale and benefit to move where the food is available. While grazing the animals, cattle's animals, the insect leave the vegetation and move to other parts. Clownfish lives among the sea anemone to get protection on their predators, which stay away from the stinging tentacles of the sea anemone. See here. Now the next one is competition. Competition is a type of interaction where two species are going to compete with each other. It may be intra-specific or it may be inter-specific competition. Intra, individual of the same species, and inter, individual of the different species. Competition occurs among the closely related species where the eating habits are going to be shared with each other. Competition can occur between the species too. Example, in shallow lakes of South America, the visiting flamingos and native fishes compete for the zooplanktons. It is not necessary that the resources need to be limited for competition to occur because somehow feeding efficiency of the species is far more different. Example, when goats are introduced in the Galapagos Island, the population of the Abingdon tortoise in Galapagos Island become extinct. This happened as the goat has greater browsing efficiency than the tortoise. So competition release in another evidence for competitive. A phenomena in which a competitive superior species forces the weakened one and move the other habitat, and the superior species expand its distribution range. Now one is Gauss competitive exclusion principle, condition limited resources. When two closely related species are competing over the same resources, cannot exist together for a long if the resources for which they are struggle are limited. This competitive inferior species will eliminate it, and if the resources are limited, second condition unlimited resources. एक तो रिसोर्स होता है कंडीशन लिमिटेड इन विच वन स्पीसीज विल लेफ्ट एंड अदर स्पीसीज विल एलिमिनेट इन द सेकंड अनलिमिटेड इफ द शेयर्ड रिसोर्सेज इज नॉट लिमिटेड then the species can defeat exclusion. Competition species evolve mechanism that is co-extinction or exclusion. MacArthur demonstrated that the five closely related species of bramble coexist on the same tree, avoid competition by their behavioral difference and their foraging activities. The last one is amensalism. When two organisms or species interact in such a way that one species is harmed and another species remain unaffected, neither benefited nor harmed. Like antibiotic is secreted by the fungus, kill many other bacteria and its vicinity, but the fungus remain unaffected. So these things are very important. I also published the summary in the PDF, so you have to go through this summary of all the things so that you can understand about these things. And recently, after that, I will publish the question and answer of the chapters. So here, as you see, the organism and population has different type of the things: abiotic factor, temperature, water, light, soil; biotic factor, animals, scavenger, population, organism. A flowchart type of the things you can easily understood about the ecology. Here also you can easily understood. So go through the subunits, and these chapters are very important. Understood my words and write the few more things what the question is arises, and it will go through you. So it must be very important to go through these chapters and don't take so much of the time. Thank you. Have a nice day.